Good morning. We are, of course, continuing with a look at the book of the prophet Isaiah. And today we come to chapter 63. We're getting close towards the end, but these last couple of chapters, they are very important because Isaiah has a vision for the end times. And looking forward, he sees things and paints with a brushstroke which is very broad, showing us what will come, not just in his future, but in our future as well. Something which has not yet occurred in the history of the world. Let me just read you the first couple of verses of Isaiah 63. He says this: "Who is this coming from Edom, from Bozrah, with his garments stained crimson? Who is this robed in splendor, striding forward in the greatness of his strength? It is I, proclaiming victory, mighty to save." That's God answering, Jesus answering. "Why are your garments," says the prophet, "why are your garments red like those of one treading the winepress?" And the answer, "I have trodden the winepress alone. From the nations no one was with me. I trampled them in my anger and trod them down in my wrath. Their blood spattered my garments, and I stained all my clothing." Now, this is a very strange vision, isn't it, of Jesus? A very strange vision of God. This idea of the conquering hero and what is meant by it and what is encompassed by it. Now, I'm going to try to explain this to you, but it may take perhaps 1 or 2 days to get through because I have to explain something of the past, something I've dealt with in the past, but which I'm going to come back and deal with again. See, Jesus, before his arrest and before his ascension, shares with the apostles visions of the future. And he says quite simply to them that there will come a time, he says, there will come a time when the enemy will set up ramparts around Jerusalem. 2 great events are going to take place. The enemy is going to come and lay siege to Jerusalem. And then he says to them very simply, when this happens, flee to the mountains. Well, a big question, you see. If this city's under siege, how do you get out and flee to the mountains? But when we look at history, we find that what happened quite simply was this. Nero Caesar got fed up with the Jewish people, and he sends one of his top generals, Vespasian, to deal with them. And Vespasian comes and sets up a siege around Jerusalem. But then when he's there carrying out this siege, as he's trying to conquer the Jewish people, Nero himself dies. And Vespasian, knowing that he could become emperor, lifts the siege and goes back to Rome. Now, the Christians who were living in Jerusalem at that time knew the prophecies of Jesus. And Jesus said to them, when you see the city laid under siege, then get out the city, get out as quickly as you can. And the Christians actually left Jerusalem at this particular time. They went in vast numbers, and they went to a place called Petra in Edom. It's a known place. We can go there today. You can look at it today. And that's where they went and encamped, at Petra. Vespasian, having gone back to Rome, suddenly himself becomes emperor. And remembering the job that Nero had given him to do, he doesn't go back himself. Of course, he sends his son Titus, who comes back and lays siege to Jerusalem again, and finally conquers it. And a great slaughter took place in Jerusalem when finally it fell. But the Christians, mainly, were not in the city. They had, in fact, escaped to Petra because they had realized that this was coming about and that Jesus had warned them about it. That was the first great prophecy of Jesus. The other great prophecy was, and it doesn't refer to that particular time, it refers to something which lies in the past, which lies in the future, something we haven't yet experienced. And Jesus says to his people, when you see the desolation, the abomination of desolation set up in the temple, then get out of Jerusalem as fast as you can, and again flee to the hills. The abomination of desolation. What is this abomination of desolation which has not yet occurred? When again we have to look at the prophecies which are given to us through John the prophet, through the book of Revelation. And in the book of Revelation, we will see that a time is coming when the whole structure of the world is going to change. The first thing that is going to happen is that God is going to come back, or Jesus is going to come back, and he's going to take his Christians out of this world. He's going to snatch them out of this world. It's called a harpazo. It's going to be taken out. You're going to be raptured, another English word for it. We're going to be raptured out of the world. Why? Because in the Lord's Prayer, we pray quite simply, Lord, keep us from the time of trial. Keep us from the time of trial and deliver us from the evil one. You see, we are praying this all the time without ever realizing what it is we are praying. Jesus is going to come and rapture his people. We'll continue with this tomorrow.